creating that. And
so you had a
building that.
6-figure job, and then you traded it in for a 7-figure job.
Exactly. Well, that 7-figure job took a while, but we got there.
Yeah. So what? Talk about that, because that's important. A lot of people see this and they're like, man, you know what? I make good money making 6 figures, but I could be making $1 million.
Yeah.
Like what was the process of thinking before you made that jump? Like, were you scared?
Hey guys, welcome back to Driven Channel, and I'm here with a very special guest from Puerto Rico. He came all the way from Puerto Rico.
What's going on, Albert?
I'm glad to have you. You're Pedro Cardona 10X. So let's start right there. Is that 10X because you 10X everything you do, or?
I'd say that for sure. So, I mean, also following Grant Cardone for several years, learning.
We met through Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how I knew of you. Started following you on social from there. And just seeing what you've created and grown. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that movement and that thought for sure.
Before we jump into what you do, Pedro, back then, this was 10X3, right?
True.
In Vegas.
Vegas, true.
Oh, it was 10X2?
Yeah.
Vegas?
Yeah, because, well, I mean, technically, I think they call it, but it was 10X Con
so the first one was in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Florida. And then the second one was in Vegas.
Yeah.
So the second one, so back then, where were you compared to right now? Like, what
my God.
Pedro? Because I know we have a picture. And
Yeah.
You're kind of different.
Yeah.
And I'm with Syl, and you're with your wife, right?
Yeah.
And then I see people in the background too, like some people, some familiar faces. So back then,
Mm-hmm.
I think this was what, like 8 years ago or 7 years ago?
2018. So that's what?
So about six,
about 6 years. Going on 7. Yeah.
So where were you back then? Because a lot of people exaggerate with their next 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
They say, like, you know what? I'm making $1 million right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make $5 million tomorrow. I mean, $5 million next year.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're making $100,000 and they say, I'm going to make $1 million next year.
Yeah.
But when you look back 5 years back,
Mm-hmm.
you notice how much you've grown.
Yeah, it's
So most
insane.
people, I think the biggest mistake they make is they try to accomplish everything in the next 12 months as opposed to thinking long-term, like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So this is like 5-6 years ago. So
Mhm.
back then, where was Pedro?
Dude, it's
Were you doing the same thing?
huge difference. Yeah, but on such a small level. So I was doing a couple things. I'm an engineer as well, so I was doing a little bit of like consulting work with that.
Mhm.
But on the flips, I was doing maybe 2 to 3 flips a year at that point. I
How funny
had
is that?
no money.
So you weren't making money back then.
I mean, on the flips, it was making some money,
So that
but
was money, but you had a job, right?
not at that point, not at 2018. I had some rentals as well, which I still have. Actually, 2018, so 2017, we had a huge hurricane in Puerto Rico, and I had a 24 unit on a lease to own, and I made like $300,000 in 1 month because of the people that came to do work in Puerto Rico. So it was a 24 unit. I had a lease to own. I had 3 tenants left after the hurricane. The first floors all got flooded. And so my wife and I were like, we have to move. So we did a bunch of stuff. We sold generators. We imported generators from the States to sell them. I mean, we're not the type of people that just cry and government come help me.
Yeah.
So we lost all our tenants. We had 3 tenants. We had a lease to pay, which was $10,000. And we're like, what are we going to do? Let's figure it out. And so we were talking to brokers and getting everything ready. A broker told us, hey, I have these people. They're going to bring a bunch of workers here to Puerto Rico to help with the hurricane. Do you have something? And I'm like, I've got the perfect spot. I've got 21 units available. I could fit 50 people. And so it was insane. We offered catering. So we had food for them. We offered laundry service. We had a maid. We installed like 22 new air conditioning units because they only had them in the bedrooms. So we put them in the living room so we could have beds there. We bought a bunch of beds and mattresses. So we had 4 people per apartment. and we made like 300 grand in 1 month from that. I'm like, why'd they leave?
Yeah.
But so at that point, I had done that, which was awesome. But on the flips, it was slow. Like I had left my job we moved back to Puerto Rico late 2015, December 2015. I left my job. We had a 5-unit building that we were working on to make apartments.
Where were you living before?
Chicago.
Okay.
Chicago, yeah. So I graduated college 2008, moved to Chicago, worked there as a nuclear engineer with the federal government, did that for 7 years, and then moved back to Puerto Rico. And then my wife transferred with her job back to Puerto Rico as an engineer as well. So it was a whole different, besides that, which was, we made some good money on that. It was probably right around the time for GrowthCon.
Yeah.
Besides that, very little. Obviously, my wife has a good engineering job, so she was making 6 figures, but it was crazy.
Yeah. So now compared to now you're doing like bigger flips. We're talking about some Dorado Beach flips and things like that. You're making good money, like in the millions, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think got you to that point where now you're making that amount of money and you're it's like different than back then?
Mindset, really. It's literally mindset. Obviously in the actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in 2021, it was interesting because I was taking this mentorship with a friend of mine in that it was called like 7 figures or something like that. And it literally, like, the mentorship hadn't even started and my mindset shifted with just something that he said. And from that point on, I've just been growing every single year.
Yeah.
Like last year we did 2022, we did 15 flips. I started that mentorship in 2021. Last year we did 15 flips. This year we did, 2023, we did 21 flips. Plus, in addition to that, I did 7 rehabs for banks. I'm doing some Fannie Mae rehabs as well. And this year we're going to shoot for 40.
Yeah.
So,
but what do you think? A lot of people say mindset. Like I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and then they, like, sometimes they'll listen to David Goggins or they'll go see Tim Grover speak. Yeah. And then they're like, my mindset. Yeah. They get motivated and they hear something and then their mindset just shifts. And before that, they weren't doing much. Yeah. They were broke. They were struggling. They were negative. Like, what do you mean by mindset? Because everybody says, it was a mindset switch. But why do you think your mindset switch? Was there something else that contributed to that? Or was it just that event that you went to?
I think it was, and I think it's really that simple, which this one thing can just change. Yeah. You flip a switch kind of a thing, to be honest, because I just started thinking bigger, even though I've been doing like the Grant Cardone stuff and all that, but there was still something holding me, which I didn't know what it was. And
do you know what it is now?
Well, actually, yes. Now that I recall. Yeah. And it's quite interesting. It gives me a little bit of goosebumps. I was like, when I realized it, it was crazy. So I'm happily married, been married. I just turned 12 years that we've been married. And at that time, I remember
we're 1 year behind.
Yeah. Awesome. And we both have 3 girls, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I realized that one of the reasons I was afraid of making money was because I didn't want to be unfaithful to my wife, which is a crazy association.
Were you like a womanizer or something?
No, I mean, guys are guys, right? I don't know. But if you look at like typically like high driving successful people, for whatever reason, they end up divorced or they have relationships outside the marriage. And for whatever reason, I made that association. Yeah. Which is, again, it's insane, but for whatever reason, it was there. Mm-hmm. And once I realized that, I'm like, just because I make money doesn't mean I need to be unfaithful to my wife. Yeah. So that flipped. It completely, like, that flipped. And I forgot about that. It's cool. And thanks for reminding me, because I was like, I didn't remember about that switch. It was literally just that. Like, so I can be rich.
So you didn't want to be rich because you thought like women were gonna like start attacking you? Or you were gonna?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The thing is, when a man has money and he has success, obviously they attract more women.
Of course, yeah.
So because obviously,
I don't even think like women don't care about looks. So like if you're a guy watching this, like if you're fat or you feel ugly or I don't know, you don't like the way you look, but you're rich, like trust me, you will get a lot of sexy females.
Yeah.
But if you're there's a lot of guys that I see that they work out, they take care of themselves, they look like broke. Models, but they're broke and they don't have any girls.
Of course,
they'll land a few here and there, but that's what I always tell people. Like, hey, one person told me a long time ago. He said, hey, if you chase women, they'll take your money. You'll run out of money. Mm-hmm. But if you chase money, then women will chase you.
Yeah.
So like I just started focusing on making money.
Yep.
And then, you know, that it did become a reality.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, having the right woman is critical.
Yeah.
I mean,
so talk about that really quick. You have 3 girls.
Yeah.
And the switch happened when you're like, you know what? I'm kind of scared to make money because of this. But
and at the time I didn't have any kids yet.
Okay. But you had your girlfriend that was
my wife.
Your wife?
She was my wife. Yeah.
So you were married. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were like, did you want to have kids or you didn't know you were going to have kids?
Yeah, we were just, we planned it out.
So talk about that. Like, so this was, go back to when you have your wife and you have that switch and you're like, okay, I'm going to make money. And then what happens later? Like when did the kids come and how was that process?
Yeah. So that was what, 2020. Actually, no. So that was 2021. We already had our first, let me see, 2021. We had 2. I'm sorry. I was thinking when we met, I didn't have any kids, which was 2018. So 2021, I had 1 daughter already. The second one was born in 2020. So yeah, I already had two of my kids. Now that I think about it. So it's so interesting when I think back on it because obviously, especially with kids, like for me, marriage isn't an optional thing. Like I'm married and that's it. We're going to figure it out no matter what happens.
So you don't believe in getting divorced?
No, I don't believe in getting divorced because and the good thing, and that goes back to having the right person with you, right? Because if you're both aligned towards the same goals, that person adds and multiplies towards what either of you are doing. Mm-hmm. So like you by yourself or still by herself, maybe will do 1, but together you'll do 100.
Yeah. So
to me, having that right person is critical. So at that point, I knew that back in 2021, I was like, and I didn't realize I even had that right. So it was like, it just came up. I was like, holy shit, and got rid of it. And that's it. So when that happened, it was like the floodgates open. Like immediately I was able to just do more deals, get more capital. Because a lot of what I do is with like private money.
Yeah. So do you feel more attached to a certain daughter?
I'd say the oldest.
Yeah.
Just because she's
your
the
favorite?
oldest. It's hard to say who's the favorite, but I think just because she's the oldest, I would say she was the first one. It's hard to break that.
So let me ask you this. When you had your first daughter, did you feel more committed to your wife and your family?
Yeah.
Than before?
For sure.
So I'll share this. Like, I don't know if I've said it before, but I don't say it a lot. Before I had a daughter, because I don't know if you heard of Luis Miguel. Have you heard of Luis Miguel?
The singer?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
He's part Puerto Rican too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mexican, Puerto Rican.
Yeah. So
this combination right here.
Yeah. So I used to party with him in Acapulco.
Really?
Yeah. So he used to be in Acapulco all the time. Baby O. Not El Alebrijes for like more younger crowds, but Baby O was like the big the celebrity spot. All the famous actors would go there, singers. So I didn't party with him a lot, but I would see him all the time there. And a few times, I got close to him, but I was he would be my idol. Like I always like growing up as a boy, as an adult, and as a man. Mm-hmm. Like my dream was to be like Luis Miguel.
Wow.
Like
you sing?
No, I don't sing.
Oh.
I wanted to be like him, where he had all the hotties. Like he was dating the hottest actresses, celebrities.
Yeah.
And he would have the hottest one week, and then the next hottest one the next week. And he would just be like changing them like whenever he felt like it. And he would always be out. in yachts, partying and things like that. So me growing up, you know, I can't get any girls when I'm young. I'm insecure. I'm very shy. No girl
Been
wants
there,
to go out
done
with me.
that.
So I'm like, man, this guy's like my idol. Like I want to be like him. I want to have all the girls. So long story short, you know, I was going to Acapulco and you know, I was with him for a few times, but then when I wasn't a father yet, so going back, I almost lost my thought. But when me and Syl were going out, and then we were, I never asked any girl to be my girlfriend. I don't even think I asked Syl to be my girlfriend. We had to get married, so we kind of rushed the marriage.
Why did you have to get married?
We had to get married for legal reasons. Okay. Yeah, because she was born in Mexico. Yeah. So I had to make a decision. Do I marry her? Or do I just let her leave and marry somebody else? Because she needs to marry somebody anyways. Right. So I measured the risks, and then I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I don't want to lose her. I'll just marry her. So I just said, what the fuck? I'll marry her. So I married her, you know, and then, but we were more best friends than like.
But you guys have been together since when?
She was one of the girls that I was dating in 2007 and 8. Okay. Like, cause when the market was crashing, that's when you graduated from high school. So
when she graduated from high school?
No, that's when you graduated from college, right?
College, 2008. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were graduating from college, I was a failing real estate loan officer because the market was just collapsing. Yeah. So I lost everything, became homeless, and that's when I asked her, "Hey, you want to hang out? Like you want to stay with me?" Because I had a selection of girls that I was just kind of changing. Like I would have a girl Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, different girls. Like I was just crazy because at least Miguel was my mentor.
He was your model.
Yeah. So it was crazy, but I would have a girl in the morning that I would wake up because we went out the night before, and then I would fake work. So I would get ready, shower, and be like, hey, I gotta leave, put like a nice dressing shirt. I gotta go to the office. I got an appointment, just so that she would get out. And then I would just bust a bitch, come back, and another girl would come to my house for lunch to hang out. Yeah. I was not even working. I was just like, I was having fun. I knew the market was going to crash. So I was just like, oh, whatever. I'm just going to party it away.
You're like, fuck it.
And then later the girl would leave, and then I would have another girl come over because I was going to go out with her. So not to make it long, you know, me and Syl grew into our relationship. And even though when we got married, because we got married kind of rushing it, we were best friends though. But I was still a man. Like I was still a guy. You know, yeah. My weaknesses were women. Yeah. Number one weakness is women, and second weakness was drinking. So drinking and women,
not a good combination,
especially if they're cute. Yeah. So I would just still have fun, go out. Sometimes Syl was waiting for me. It was like 4 a.m. and I would barely be getting home. And when I found out she was pregnant, things started to get different. But then the moment my daughter was born, Italia, that was when I said, you know what? No more fucking fucking around. So that was when I was like, you know what? I can't look at my daughter in her eyes and know that I have another girl that I'm also going out with. So that's when I just kind of committed 100% to my family, to my wife, and to like my girl, my little girl. And then I had another one and another one. But for me, that was a big change. I don't know if it's throwing it back to you when you had your first daughter. I don't know. And not only that, she also inspired me to just be better all around, to make more money, to work more. And now the time that I used to use going out, I had to give it to her. So no more wasting time. I value time more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny because my wife and I, we started dating in 2007, became officially, so to speak, boyfriend, girlfriend in 2008. But when we started dating, I was like, I wasn't looking for a relationship because I was going to move to the US. I already knew I was going to work in the US as an engineer. And I was like, I'm not going to have a long distance relationship because she's 3 years younger. She was still in college. And so we met in college and I'm like, I don't want a relationship.
Yeah.
And you know how it is when you're not looking for something, that's when things come, right?
Yeah.
And so I kept meeting other girls and I'm like, at one point she was like, we kept like on and off. And then 2008, it was like, okay, we'll be boyfriend, girlfriend. But
did you ask her you want to be my girlfriend?
I asked her. Yeah, I asked her. It was like, I don't know if I should go into too much detail because family, but it was like I was like, fuck, this woman is amazing. She's caring. Like I saw the qualities in her. I'm like, she's a keeper. Like I'm fuck it. Let's just figure it out. Yeah. And so that was in 2008. And then I moved to the US on my own to work. Yeah. And she stayed in Puerto Rico. And obviously that's a whole different dynamic. Yeah. Yeah. So me and Pedro are not like at relationship advisors. So we're not professionals in that area. So I mean, honestly, now I could say that I can give most people advice on relationships for sure. Because I mean, to me, it was about cleaning my hands. Like when you clean your hands, and that's another thing is like, I feel that the more like ethics I put in, the cleaner my hands, the more successful I am. So like, honestly, there's people that like the stories you hear of like people scamming people and becoming rich and whatever, like doesn't make sense to me because I'm like, if I'm not doing things right, there's a reason I'm not making money, or there's a reason if I have an accident, it's like, I have to look at what I did that caused that. Right. So looking back at it, I can see how as I improved my own, like, I guess my own ethics and just improved in that area, I kept growing and becoming better in everything really. Yeah. So, yeah. So your wife, does she help you with your business or is... So interestingly enough, she hasn't been involved with the business much since maybe 2016. Just because, so she's still working as an engineer, interestingly enough. Still, I call it the golden handcuffs. Yeah. Because she makes good money. I know she could make more money with me for sure. So we're still figuring that part out. But she'll be a little bit of a sounding board with some stuff, and I'll tell her, but mostly it's really just me. Okay. So she has her full-time job that she has. Yeah. Got it. Well, she's an engineer. Well, that's good because some people that are watching this, some of the people, they have the wife that has a job or the husband that has a job, like a good salary, and then the other person is the entrepreneur that's just fighting. Because when you're an entrepreneur together, you have there's like no plan B. Yeah. Like you have no backup option. Which is good sometimes too. Yeah, it is. Because like for us, it was calculated. Like I left my 6-figure job. Yeah. We moved to Puerto Rico. She transferred her 6-figure job to move to Puerto Rico. And like I started basically at zero. And so it was like just creating that. So you had a 6-figure job and then you traded it in for a 7-figure job. Exactly. Well, that 7-figure job took a while, but we got there. Yeah. So what? Talk about that because that's important. A lot of people see this and they're like, "Man, you know what? I make good money, making 6 figures, but I could be making $1 million." Yeah. Like what was the process of thinking before you made that jump? Like, were you scared? Did you know? Did you just go for it and not think about it? How long did it take you? So for us, I've been like just reading, educating myself since like 20. Because you do a lot of self-improvement. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've invested easily, I don't know, maybe $500,000 in self-improvement in the last 6 years. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we started, was together in doing some like Robert Kiyosaki courses back in 2012. And it was like Rich Dad, Poor Dad education, something like that. We literally invested, it was like 27 grand on his program, which included 4 classes that you could go twice and a mentor that flew out to you. And so we saw that as the key was the mentor. So we took like 7 credit cards. We put all the money to be able to pay for that. And then from there, we just started learning and whatnot. Then we joined like a small, we're at a real estate club, and there we started meeting people and connecting, and we joined a small like mentorship there. Yeah. And from there we did our first flips. So that was in 2013. We did our first flip there. And then we did another. We did maybe 4 or 5 while working full time. Every single weekend we were looking at properties. That's all we did on weekends. That's all we did in the afternoons was just go visit
So this
properties.
mentor used to fly in to see you?
This was one with the Rich Dad Education. Part of the package was you're going to have a mentor that's going to fly out for a weekend and mentor you with what you're doing in your market. So to me, I saw that as a key because I was like I don't know why I made that association, because growing up, I didn't really have that like mentors. I mean, my family was like dirt broke. I mean, I remember my mom had a car without the registration for like 5 years. Like it was like a 1987 Nissan Maxima, and it was a shit car. And it was like just coming from nothing. And in high school, I was kicked out of my house. I lived in this little tiny wood shack in the back of an old lady's house. I lived in a college town, and this old lady rented the front where she lived to girls, and then the back shack I rented there. It was like $150 a month. Me and another guy to live there, and that was like my last semester of high school. So I mean, I've from the bottom and just looking up to people that what I thought were successful. And now looking back, I'm like I would always like the kids that had a car in high school. I was like, fuck, they're rich. Yeah. Like my parents didn't even give me 50 cents to take to school. And I'm like, these kids have a freaking car.
But your parents are from where?
From Puerto Rico.
So they live over there?
Mm-hmm.
So you grew up in Puerto Rico and then went to Chicago and then came back to Puerto Rico. Yeah.
I lived in Rhode Island as a kid. It was like 2nd grade, 3rd grade. So I lived there for a couple of years with my mom. So my parents divorced. My mom moved to Rhode Island, lived there for a few years, and then we came back to Puerto Rico.
So when you were in Puerto Rico, like as a kid, what was your first language? Spanish?
Yeah, 100%.
Your mom speaks English?
Barely. She can understand, but
you speak fluent Spanish?
Yeah, both. Yeah, fluent English and Spanish for sure.
And so does your wife?
Yeah, well, hers has gotten better. I mean, she Spanish, of course, and then English. She's become very much fluent now. She lived also in the States for a few years when she graduated college, so she got a lot better at the English.
Yeah. So talk to me about your personal brand. Like I know you've been working on it, right? And you put out a lot of content. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was, but also because we've bumped into each other, right, a long time ago, and then I know you've been following me for a while, but then we never really connected until recent. Yeah. So I'm curious as to like what made you like finally be like, you know what, let me connect with Albert, and move. And also the follow-up question with your brand. I've seen your brand. You've been, because I see you on social media, but you're consistent and you've been growing it. Yeah. Is that something that you're focusing on right now, your personal brand? Yeah. And also what made you right now like be like, you know what, I'm gonna show up to LA and I'm gonna join the Albert's coaching and all that stuff. Well, how did that happen? Yeah, so I've seen what you've done in the past few years and how you've grown it, and like one of my focuses this year is to grow my personal brand. Yeah, and to develop that so that I can have a bigger impact, because honestly, what I've seen work, I've done a little bit of coaching back home with just different people. Yeah. And I haven't continued that because it really took away from my business and what I was doing. So I've done a little bit of that. I've done 4 or 5 students, charge between $8,000 and $12,000 to do that, but one-on-one. And to me, it just distracted me from what I was supposed to do, which I love doing it though, because that's how I really got into the business and doing it. So that's something I'm going to develop and work on this year. I want to create some group coaching just to add value to people and see. I mean, I think especially in like the Hispanic community, there's a need for that, especially like people that have come from nothing and have built it and have sweated it and have busted ass to create something bigger. I think that's very much needed. So that's a little bit of what I'm going towards. Now with just joining what you're doing, again, going back, it was like just seeing what you've created. And I was like, well, last year I joined Pace Morby's program. Yeah. And Guy's a Rockstar.
and he's got the family and all that. And then I saw what you're doing. Again, you've got your family, you have a very different approach. And I was like, just join what Albert's doing. I like what he's doing. I like your approach.
Yeah.
I like your no bullshit type attitude, which I'm very much like that.
Some people don't like it though.
Yeah. Their problem.
Yeah. The soft.
That's not your audience.
Yeah.
And so I've tamed that for me because it hurts people's feelings sometimes, especially if you're working with family members or whatnot. Right. So sometimes you gotta tame that down a little bit.
Yeah.
But dude, I just finished Elon Musk's book, the biography.
Yeah.
Dude, and that guy's like a freaking no bullshit from anyone. Like he'll ride people's asses, and I'm like, I'm not very good at my wife, she can handle that part. She's good with the human resources. And so I like that from you, and like similar, Grant Cardone's a similar way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I should embrace more of that.
Yeah.
Which is what I really identify with.
Like just from the outside looking at me, just curiosity, were you kind of waiting, like maybe, you know what, let me give it more time. Let me see if Albert keeps growing. Let me see if he keeps progressing.
Not really.
Was that something that you were looking at now?
No, I mean, I've seen your progress throughout the years, and I bought I've had your, I think I didn't really use it much, unfortunately.
Driven Academy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you first launched it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like $100 or $200. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I have to figure out my login. I want to go back in and see.
Yeah.
But so I got that years ago when you first launched it.
Yeah.
And I think I watched all the recordings.
There's more now.
Back.
There's a lot.
I'm sure.
Because we had a lot of stuff every month.
Okay. So I have to go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like,
but I make the decision quick. I was like, I saw you. I mean, literally within a week, I did your mentorship. I mean, your coaching, and then joined your mentorship.
Yeah, the mastermind.
The mastermind. I was like, obviously, this guy's doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I just did it.
Yeah.
I didn't think too much about it.
Because you know what? Like what earns my respect and more belief is when I see people that are still around. What I mean by that is, for example, like we met a while back. So I remember that we met a while back. Yeah. I don't remember that picture until you showed it to me. Now I remember that picture. But I know that I knew you from the past, and I know we DM'd back and forth, and you told me, oh, we met at 10X a while back. Yeah. So when I see somebody that, you know, was doing good or was doing okay, but then every year for a decade or almost a decade, you level up every year. And I know that there's always ups and downs. And sometimes you're faced with scary moments where, man, you know what? I can go out of business right now if I don't change, like if I don't pivot. Yeah. So when I see people with a track record where they've been going at it and year after year, you know, it's not only 5 years. Right. It's not even only 10 years, but I see them, they keep going 15 years, 20 years. Like when I see people like that, like I'm like, this is a real individual, because this person doesn't back down and doesn't quit no matter what, because things always happen. So that's what I saw in you. That's what I see in a lot of the people that come to Driven. I see a lot of them that are hot. You know, they have their little Ferrari for like not even a year, and then they lose it. They have their Lambo and not even a year, they lose it. They have their Bentley, and you know what, not even a year and they lose it. Things like that. And they're living like a flashy lifestyle, but it's just fake. It's because, you know, 2021, everybody took advantage of all the help. But then the moment times get real, then they lose it. So they're just like temporary. They have temporary success. Yeah. But what I really respect is when somebody has to go through tough times and they fight, and they fight to protect, they fight to keep their family in good standing. They don't just give up. So that's one thing that I have that I always remember. My dad told me, never quit. Yeah. Because a quitter one time is a quitter for life. And I always remember that. I'm always like, man, you know what? So I like that you just have been like growing every year, growing year after year. Is there something that you think has made you that way, in the sense that you want to improve and you just don't quit?
I think part of it is just my upbringing. Yeah. Like just going through hard times. And like I said, I got kicked out of my house in high school. and just struggling through it.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting because I saw your interview with Ty.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how like he didn't have anything like issues like that made him do more as an adult, right? Or businesses that pushed him.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I remember growing up, I was mid-tier in junior high, but I would get in fights all the time.
Yeah.
I'm especially in junior high, high school, I was always getting into fights. And so I was like bullied, but I would always fight to defend myself and whatever. So I think maybe some of that, I mean, as a Hispanic kid, you get beaten a lot by your parents.
Yeah.
Well, at least that was my case. So maybe that plays a little bit into it. But right now, to me, it's more of just setting a good example, because I know I can do that and I can help inspire, especially people that maybe have come from a similar background, to see like, hey, you can do it all.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like I know you've been with Cardona and like all that stuff, and like that's what I like of people like him. Even my other mentor, his name's Mayor Ezra. Before, like, I want to be around people that are doing good in every area of their life, because I don't want someone that's doing great in business but he's unfaithful to his wife.
Yeah.
Or his kids are in drugs.
Yeah.
Or he's a fat ass.
Yeah,
to me, I mean, I don't want one thing. I want it all.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that's what I want to do, serve as that example to others as well, that, hey, it's not just about making money. It's critical, I think, because if you make good money, you can handle everything else much more easy, right? But you need to handle your body. You need to handle your marriage and your children.
Because you have 3 girls, so you have to be a good role model.
Yeah, yeah. And have shotguns.
Yeah. And you know, the way I see it too is you can't fuck up anymore.
Yeah.
Like before you had 3 girls, when you were just you and your wife, what's the worst thing that happens? You fuck up or make a mistake. It's just you and your wife. But now 3 girls, you cannot fuck up. Yeah. You know? But you know what I think we have in common also? When you came from Puerto Rico, your first language was Spanish. So then when you came here to the States, you were in middle school, I think, right? 6th grade or 7th grade?
Elementary. 1990.
What grade were you in?
2nd grade.
2nd grade.
Yeah.
So maybe because I was here, but I was like in Mexico because I was with my parents the whole time when I was a kid, before I went to the 1st grade. All I knew was Spanish. So they didn't teach me English. So when I went, when I got into the 1st grade, I took the school bus and I didn't understand anything. So I was bullied, made fun of, and all that stuff. So I had to fight through that. So that kind of made me tough.
Yeah.
But question here to finish off. You had a life that you had to figure out. So you had, let's say, a tough life because it was you and you know, people maybe counted you out. Maybe you have a chip on your shoulder. I don't know if you believe in that.
Yeah, for sure.
But you had to struggle, right? Now you're making good money, and now your daughters have a different life. Yeah, like they have everything. They don't really have to struggle like you did.
Well, I'm going to make them struggle.
So what is your plan? Talk about that. What is your plan with your girls? Because that is the same thing that me and Syl think about all the time, because they have a super safe, perfect life. But we had to go to war, and we're still in war. Yeah, and it never ends.
It's never exactly. It's never.
So like, what are you and your wife gonna do with that, and how are you gonna balance like your work, being fathers, you know, and being father, mother, all of that stuff?
Yeah, we've actually talked about that, because, I mean, obviously we're not at your level yet, and we're figuring out and continuing to grow the business. But one of the things that we're like, we just put them to work. Like, I think that's such a big part of it. Like, I've been working since I was a kid. I mean, when I was growing up, I was in elementary school. My brother and I have 3 siblings. I'm the oldest. We would go to the grocery store, and we would, like, we're little kids, we're going to the grocery store to pack people's groceries so that they would give us money. Yeah. So that they would just give us their change or whatever. And then I did, like, I would sell from a magazine, and then I did, like, cold calling for people to sell funeral services. I mean, I've done a bunch of different things, and that's what I'm going to have my daughters do. I mean, I take them to the properties with me. I show them, they understand like the rents. I've taken them to the property. I say, these people pay us to live in our property.
Yeah.
And so I want to get them involved in the business as much as possible so that they see, and they're going to clean. I mean, they're still young, but at home, I mean, we have them help us. And I think that's a huge thing that I think is a huge parenting mistake in general, that a child wants to help, but most parents are like, no, don't do that. Because why? Because it's going to be harder, or it's going to take longer, or they're going to make a mess. Yeah. But the reality is that you're depriving that child of that opportunity to give back to you as a father or as a mother, because they admire, we're gods to them, right? So they're trying to figure out, hey, what can I do to help my parents? Yeah. Like that's all they're really thinking. Even like it's just in their nature. Yeah. But in general, people will be like, oh no, you don't have to do that or whatever. I'm like, they need to do that. Even though it'll take longer, that's what they need to do, because that's how they feel they're contributing to the family. Yeah. And that's how they're going to feel better. And then people complain that, oh, the teenagers, they don't want to help in the house. Well, they don't want to help in the house because you've been telling them to not help you for freaking 12 years. Yeah. What do you expect? You're telling them, hey, no, don't do that, or you're going to make a mess, or this or that. Well, that's what you've been doing for the last 12 years. You don't expect the 13-year-old now to all of a sudden want to help if you've been putting them down for years. Yeah. So like, that's how we work at our house. Like, I'll tell my daughter, like, oh, it's going to be your job to clean the table. Like, you wipe it down. And I taught her, and yeah, maybe I have to go wipe it down again afterwards, but I'm giving them that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, so that's how we're working towards that. It's critical.
Sometimes one of my daughters tells me, she's like, Italia hit it. She's like, wait, no, Italia comes to me and she tells me, Berlin hit me.
I tell her, hit her back.
That's what I tell her. Yeah. I'm like, hit her back. That's what I tell her.
Yeah, I do the same.
You beat me to the answer. Yeah, but I tell her, hit her back. Yep. I'm like, why are you telling me that she hit you?
Is she the oldest?
Yeah, the oldest.
The oldest, the second one hits the oldest.
Yeah.
Same thing Same thing with us.
Yeah.
I'm like, just hit her back.
Yeah.
It's like,
but then the oldest is always like provoking her. Yeah. So they're just like,
oh, my second one is a rascal.
Yeah.
The oldest is so chill. The second one,
same with us. Berlin. Yeah, Berlin.
And she's got an attitude that it's like, she's gonna be a feisty one. She reminds me a lot of me.
The middle one is always like that. I heard
the
second one because they don't get as much attention as the first one. Then the first one gets older. Then the first one is more independent, and then the second one is born, and then she gets all the attention. So then the older one kind of feels left out. But then when there's the third one, then the third one gets all the attention. Yeah. The oldest one is independent. Yeah. And the middle one feels lost. Yeah. So it's kind of like what happened with us. So sure. So we make a big effort to make sure that we spend some time with the middle one, and because you got to make everybody feel special.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So Pedro, if somebody is looking for, like, if somebody wants to reach out to you, and then also like who are you? Who can you help? Because I know you do flips in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. Are you looking for homeowners? Are you looking for investors? Are you looking for who are you looking for in Puerto Rico where you can help them with their properties?
So I mean, honestly,
or where do you find them?
All over. So I mean, I don't call them investors. They're really more like money partners, I would say, just because of the SEC setup and all that. But so I'm always looking for money partners, people that want to get a good return. And I mean, I have several people that I'm working with. Yeah. So that's mostly how I run my business, is just through
that's like your top client. Like that's who you look for to grow your business.
Yep. Yeah. And then obviously we buy houses, so we'll buy cash. We just bought a property 2 days ago in Dorado that we bought it subject to. So we assumed the person's mortgage. They were going to lose the property, and we were able to help him out. I mean, the guy was literally, he's like, I'm about to cry, because we really helped the guy out. He's going to make some money off of it, and it's a win-win because we're going to get a good return, and he's not going to foreclosure. So So obviously that type of thing, just looking for properties where we can add value, or someone's losing their house and they don't know what to do. We've got more creative ways to be able to help them.
And then you have a good track record. Can you talk about, like, really quickly about a few deals that stand out that you did last year that where it was very profitable for all parties?
Yeah. Well, actually, so I have one right now, which is very cool. I bought it at auction, at a court auction. There was 17 other investors there. And the first property I bought in Puerto Rico was in that same subdivision. Yeah. So I bought several properties there. That's also where I had the 24 unit on a lease to own. So I'm very familiar with that market. And I went to the auction. Interestingly enough, I didn't have the money until the day before. So I went to an event. I was talking with some people there. And there's this guy which I had met. He does some like coaching or whatnot on Airbnb stuff. And I'm like, I tell him, hey, how liquid are you? And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, let's talk. And so I talked to him about this deal. He gives me, within an hour, 20 minutes, he's already sold on it. So I pitched it to him. He gave me $300,000 so that I could go to the auction the next day. So went to the auction. I bought it for $230,000. So I had 312 grand. I was like, I took some extra cash just in case. And so he put up all the money, bought it for $230,000, and I'm going to sell it for $500,000 probably next week. So we bought it in August. Initially, we were planning on doing a boutique hotel there. That's one of the projects that I want to do this year. But the lot is smaller than we would like. So we figured, let's get a bigger lot. Let's sell this one off. So we're going to sell it for $500,000, bought it for $230,000. We did some plans and stuff. So I don't know, maybe we spent $3,000 on it. I'm going to sell it for $500,000. So it's more than 100% return in 6 months.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
so we won't get into all the specifics here, but later on, if somebody is interested, they can contact you. And then you don't care where these people are from, right? If somebody wants to partner up with you on the deal, they could be anywhere in the US. They don't have to necessarily be in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Obviously the structures are a little different. But I have people from the States that have partnered with me. Mostly people right in Puerto Rico. You know how you start with friends and family. Yeah. And then you just start meeting more people. And then I've got several. I have a really good friend that he's like, hey, let's put together a fund. He's within the Act 60. So I know you're familiar with that, with the tax laws and whatnot. And he's like, let's put together at least a $10 million fund so that way you're not having to necessarily look for properties for money every single time you have a property. Because like one of the limitations, or I buy a lot at auction, like 60% of the properties I buy at auction. And so the problem with that is I don't know how much the bank wants for that property until sometimes the day before. And so it's like I'm constantly doing research and figuring out, okay, what do they want, how much they want. And then if I have the liquid right now, if it's all tied up, or if I have to get the money from someone else. Yeah. So he's like, let's just put together a fund. Let's do it. Let's start with a $10 million fund. And that way you've got that money there and you could just deploy it without having to constantly come up with the money. So that's definitely one way. And then, going back to the personal brand is I want to create some sort of mentorship, a group type coaching, similar to what you're doing, where I can help people in a group setting, add value, help them through what they're doing, especially in Puerto Rico.
And you know what? You could kill it doing that. Like there's people like me. Like I don't make my money. I don't make millions coaching. Like I do, but that's not my main business. I make millions even if I decide to be like, hey, I'm not gonna do coaching anymore. I'll still make millions with my other businesses. So I created my personal brand to grow my businesses, which led to the coaching. But for you, like you could easily mentor people on how to do the same thing you're doing and make easy money. There's a lot of people out there that all they do is coaching and they make money just coaching. And you're doing you're actually gonna coach them on how they can get the same results you're getting, how to raise money, how to partner up, how to find the deals, all that stuff. It'll be very easy. And then you have the group setting. And then from there, the higher level people, maybe you could create some masterminds, more one-on-one, more in person. And then those are obviously going to be a higher ticket price. Right. But that's gonna be easy. And then that's just a funnel, because that builds your circle.
Yeah.
And you start getting more opportunities from that.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, man,
Thanks.
whatever I can do to help you with that,
Appreciate it.
count on it. And then if somebody wants to reach out to you, Pedro, what is the fastest and easiest way for you to communicate with them?
Yeah, just DM me via Instagram. Pedro Cardona 10X is my current handle. So just reach out to me there. And if not, I mean, my cell phone, 787-385-1462. Send me a text message and we'll connect, and hopefully we can do something together.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Pleasure.